Today's sync sound is a pencil on a mug. In 3, 2, 1.
I feel like we're running out of options already.
Yeah, I think it's bad that we're only at episode 5 and that we've come to pencil on a mug.
Yep.
That's bad news. All right, welcome to That Just Might Work, the podcast about everyday items. How are you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing good. I had a rough drive to get here today.
Yeah, I have to, the first thing I'll say is I'm uncomfortable with the fact that I can see you.
Yeah, it's better when we don't see each other.
Right. The chemistry might be all off. I'm not even sure if we really like each other.
Right, I'm a little nauseous.
But, you know, yeah, Jesse, drove out from Syracuse this morning, made a pit stop in the wrong town.
Yeah, my GPS took me to the wrong town.
You know, you've only been driving here for your entire life. I don't know why you needed to use the GPS, and then the GPS sent you to the wrong town.
Yeah, I doubted myself, and it didn't pay off.
I made waffles.
Yeah, that was good. We had homemade waffles and homemade ice cream.
Oh yeah, I don't mess around when I have guests in town.
I'm gonna come here more often.
So I'm pretty excited about today's episode. We're doing a couple things different here. Obviously, we're in the same room. Before we get to the episode, a couple of brief announcements. Do want to remind you again to follow us on our social media. That Just Might Work Podcast.com is the website. Brief Tyler Womack update. Have not heard from him.
I hope people were like on the edge of their seats, like, has it happened yet?
Yeah, it's like he's in the room with us. That's the end goal, right?
Right. We stopped the podcast after that point.
Yeah, when Tyler Womack gets on the show,
the final episode,
that's going to be the season finale. Yeah. So I'm just saying it right now. So again, we encourage you to follow him at TJMW on Twitter. Don't message him. Somebody's going to ruin it. I know. That's how it's going to happen. But it's the Tyler Womack social experiment. We do have stickers. I got to see them. They're pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited to.
Did you just try and hold that up for a camera?
Well, yes, because we have a special guest that we're going to introduce in a moment. And I understand you put one of these on a urinal on the way here.
I did. I stopped in a rest area and I threw it up on the urinal. I feel like it might get taken down, but hopefully a few peeing men will see it before that.
That's what people do at urinals.
Normally, yes.
And it's usually men, too. All right. So with that, let's get to today's guest. This is the first guest we're having on That Just Might Work. I'm pretty excited about it. My good friend from my college days. Welcome to the show, Mike McKay.
Oh, hey, welcome. Thank you for having me. I didn't know what to say.
I didn't know what you were going to say, but that seemed appropriate.
Thanks for being here.
Mike's a musician, entrepreneur, and he's the host of Live from Mike's House, which we'll tell you more about. Super awesome live music show. And as you can guess, it happens in his house.
Not anymore.
Are you going to change the name of the show?
Yeah, we're going to have to. Season 2 was actually sponsored by a local company, and so we're going to do a residency there at a local hotel in Syracuse. But they pay a lot more than nobody. So
that makes sense.
It's going to be live from corporate hotels.
I was going to say, now you're going to tell me you're going to
with Mike.
You're going to record like after the fact and be like, not live from a hotel. Like
right.
With Mike McKay.
It's not music anymore either. It's just Mike at a hotel.
Slam poetry.
Have you had a slam poet on? I know you've had comedians and musicians and.
You know, honestly, I would love to do a slam poetry. I will say that the comedy episode was like 10 people in my house and some comedians. And although they were very funny, it's really weird watching comedians perform when there's no laughter anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So they like deliver the punchline. And then I'm laughing, but it's really just
I feel like I just need to say, well, welcome to our show then.
Yeah.
Where we're delivering jokes with no laughter.
No, I'm laughing. You guys
good.
I will laugh with your jokes.
Yeah, we've gotten positive feedback.
Yes.
For the most part. And with that, I do want to mention, I created a new email address, feedback@thatjustmightworkpodcast.com. We encourage you to send us your ideas, your questions, your complaints, and we may feature them on the show.
Yeah.
So let's get into today's topic. I gave Mike the heads up, and I understand he spent like a week and a half doing extensive, probably more research than I did, which he didn't need to do, but I appreciate that. Today's topic is the vacuum cleaner. That was a very odd reaction.
I'm really struggling. Like, we're running out of sync sounds. I'm running out of reactions.
Maybe it's better with silence, like the comedians. So the vacuum cleaner, I like to start with just a brief definition. All of this research is done on Wikipedia for the most part. A vacuum cleaner, also known as a sweeper or hoover, is a device that uses an air pump to create a partial vacuum to suck up dust and dirt, usually from floors and from other surfaces such as upholstery and draperies. I don't know about you. For some reason, I didn't put together the fact that a vacuum creates a vacuum, partial vacuum. Yeah,
I guess that makes sense. You gotta, what is that, like a negative pressure or something?
Yeah, a reduction in the pressure inside of a chamber. A couple of distinctions to make. You've got two modern collection methods, dust bags and cyclone type. You've got upright vacuums, which are typically belt driven. And you've got a lot of different types of vacuums out there. We're mostly going to focus on the household variety, but there are small battery-powered handheld ones, like the little Dirt Devil thing.
Right.
Wheeled canister models for home use, domestic central vacuum cleaners. Those are cool.
That's fancy.
Built into the walls of the house. Robotic vacuums, shop vacs. They do dusts and liquids. Vacuum trucks. I'd never heard of that. A tanker designed to pneumatically suck liquids, sludges, slurry, sand, water, without the contact of any mechanical equipment.
Hopefully not something you need for your home.
Yeah, unless you have a very large spill on your driveway. At this point, Mike is just like, yeah, I already knew all of that.
Yeah. Got all that down.
So let's jump into the history of vacuum cleaners. I like to always ask Jesse. I assume Mike maybe already knows. You want to take a guess as to when the vacuum cleaner was first invented and why?
I feel like why would be to clean things, like off the floor. I feel like it's sort of industrial revolutionist. I'm not sure I know exactly when that was.
Me neither, so that was a bad.
Yep. I always pick reference points that I don't know. Let's say 1825.
That's
a little late.
Yeah, a little later. See, he knows.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mike's like, no.
I've got 1860. Is that what you had, Mike?
1860 by Daniel Hess.
I should have said Mike McKay, vacuum expert.
Yeah, by the end of the show, that's what we'll.
And Daniel Hess.
Do things half-assed.
What's that?
I said I don't do things half-assed.
No.
When you tell me we're doing a vacuum episode, I become Vacuum Mike.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Daniel Hess of West Union, Iowa, actually invented the carpet sweeper. So it wasn't a vacuum, so to speak, but he's still credited for the invention of the vacuum because that was the point.
Okay.
It was a thing that you pushed that cleaned up the floor.
Did it use the vacuum, the negative pressure to do that? Oh, it did not.
Just sweepers.
Okay.
Moving on from Daniel Hess, most early vacuum cleaners required the efforts of two people. I didn't know this. One early model actually required the operator to sit in a rocking chair, rocking back and forth to produce the energy needed to create suction.
That's ridiculous.
And other methods involved one person rocking back and forth on a platform, pressing up and down on plunger-type mechanisms.
I'm going to take a note here to include this in my invention.
Sounds like fun.
One person has to rock back and forth for it to work.
Can you imagine if you're like, honey, you want a vacuum tonight? We can, get on the vacuum and just, suck up all the dirt.
I'm going to save that sound clip.
Moving on, the one vacuum I wanted to make a note of, the Hoover World War I friction motor vacuum cleaner, kind of used a different premise. It was powered by a friction motor, similar to like those cars where you might pull them back and forth to generate friction, and then the motor can operate. So you would actually push this vacuum cleaner back and forth until it built up enough energy to go for probably like across the room, and then you had to do it again.
Just set it and forget it.
Very inefficient. These were considered manual vacuum cleaners, and their sales peaked in 1914. Jumping into powered vacuum cleaners, some early models used variations of blowing air versus sucking it.
That seems really inefficient for what you need to do.
I'll touch on that though. It's surprisingly, it doesn't have to be.
All right.
And early patents include ones in 1899 and 1900 for the first electric models. British engineer Hubert Cecil Booth.
You want to fact check that with Mike?
Is that right, Mike? Am I saying that correct?
Sounds good to me.
He's credited to have invented the name vacuum cleaner. So I want to give Hubert a little bit of credit. He actually had a horse-drawn combustion engine-powered vacuum named Puffing Billy. And they had vacuums. Maybe you came across this in your research, Mike, where they would actually pull it up to your house. These things would weigh like 4,000 pounds.
Yes.
And then they would have long tubes that they would run into your house into various rooms and suck it out to the street.
Yeah, I feel like that would be way better, too, because a machine of that size is going to do so much better than, like, a handheld Dyson. You know, like, what an engine thing.
Yeah, it kind of isn't a horrible idea because it eliminates a lot of the complaints I have about the vacuum, which we'll get to. It's more powerful. It's not inside of your house.
Right. I was going to say, I like the fact that you just don't have to own one. You can just a service.
You can have like a bi-monthly appointment with the.
Yeah, $6,000 for the truck to show up and suck out all the dirt. And that sounds about right.
A little expensive, but yeah. And onto the development of modern vacuum cleaners. The first vacuum cleaner to resemble modern vacuums was a portable model built in 1905 by Walter Griffith, known as, I like the way he named this, Griffith's Improved Vacuum Apparatus for Removing Dust from Carpets.
Oh, that's nice. And a good brochure for
You have to remember, this is around the time that like vacuum cleaner was still becoming like a name.
Okay.
But they understood that it worked on the premise of creating a vacuum. It was portable, easy to store, and powered by, quote, any one person, such as the ordinary domestic servant.
Oh, God.
Who would have the task of compressing a bellows-like contraption to suck the dust through a removable, flexible pipe to which a variety of shaped nozzles could be attached.
Yeah,
so it's like the modern vacuum plus
a servant.
A servant.
Right.
That was my first idea, actually. Just
get someone else to do it for you. Sure.
The first portable electric model invented in 1907 by a department store janitor named James Murray Spangler. And I want to give him some credit because he invented this, and this is the closest thing we have to the modern vacuum. But he didn't have the money to fund the manufacturing process, so he sold it to a William Henry Hoover.
Oh.
Excuse me. May I interject there?
Yes, please do.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was 1908.
I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
This is why we had you on, Mike.
Well, you know.
Fact checker.
Thanks.
Actually, the number one rule of that just might work is don't fact check anything that we say.
That's a dangerous thing to do.
There is no credibility to anything that we're...
In that case, I believe it was I who invented the vacuum, and it was whatever year I wanted.
Yeah, did I say James Murray? I meant Michael McKay Spangler.
In 2017.
Murray. For many years after their introduction, vacuum cleaners remained a luxury item, but after the Second World War, they became common among the middle classes, also known as...
the vulgar people.
That's right, the vulgar people.
All you vulgar people, you got your vacuums now. You happy?
After the Second World War. So, that's the history of the vacuum. I didn't want to jump too much into modern vacuums because the truth is they got lighter, they got smaller, they got a little bit more efficient, but the premise from the early 1900s to now is pretty much the same, and that's why it's a good topic for That Just Might Work. Here's where we move on to the section of the show called Why It Sucks. And the pun is not intended, but we're talking about vacuums.
It works out today.
Why don't you go first, Mike? What do you hate about the modern vacuum?
So here's what I hate about the modern vacuum. And, I just hate vacuuming in general, which is why I normally, let's say I ask my wife very nicely if she would be so kind as to vacuum the house. And whenever I do, she gives me the common complaints. The cord is too impeding. We have I believe it's a Dyson.
Nice vacuum.
The cord impedes her. It's too heavy, even still to this day. We have the Dyson ball.
Oh, yeah. Those are cool.
That's nice.
I'm not going to lie. It looks cool when I watch her do it. I've never. I guess what's really bugging me about the vacuum is that there's no lasting effect. It only, and this is where we need to get a little futuristic here, it only captures what's on the floor now. What happens when you vacuum you get all the dog hair up, and then the next day you have to do it again. Why do we not have any preventative vacuum technology?
I like where your head's at.
Yeah, this is like Billy Mays here for the vacuum.
I'm already sold. I don't know what your idea is going to be, but
right. Can I just give you my credit card number now, or do we need to do that after the show?
Yeah.
Yes, after the show will be fine.
Yeah, so you touched on a couple of things that I hate about it. You can chime in as well, Jesse. I hate the cord. It's like, why do you have to hold the cord out of the? It seems so stupid to me.
Yep.
That you have to hold the electrical cord. It seems dangerous almost that you're running over it frequently.
Right. Out
of the way to vacuum. That's just the biggest inconvenience for me. I said it's too heavy as well. Takes too much time. Makes too much noise. It's required too often, as you mentioned, Mike. And also that hair gets stuck in them and you got to cut them out.
Yep.
And that, it's women's hair is the only hair that gets stuck in it.
Agreed.
So that's for me, and I want to be careful what I say here. It doesn't feel fair that I have to cut out hair that's not mine.
Right. We had this argument. I'll tell a quick story. We had this argument last week. We actually, it was probably a couple weeks ago, because we were removing the Christmas tree from our living room. And so I took the Christmas tree out, and of course it leaves pine needles everywhere. So we took the vacuum out, and it wasn't, and this is an expensive vacuum, and yet it was not powerful enough to suck up the pine needles. And so we ended up having to sweep them into little piles and manually remove them.
Ooh. And
so I took the vacuum apart because there's no way it shouldn't be powerful enough to handle that job.
Right. You've got like a $600 Dyson vacuum.
Right. What we found was in the rolling portion of the vacuum was about, my wife is Italian, I'll say about 65 pounds of her hair. So we had to cut it out with a knife. And I started, and then I thought, you know what? Maybe this isn't a job for me after all.
And I was going to say, no wonder your vacuum's, heavy and hard to maneuver.
Yeah. So did you bring it to a professional?
No, but we actually do have a vacuum professional in our town that we used last year when our dog chewed through the cord. He recorded the vacuum for us. It only cost us like $20.
Nice.
Well, that's good.
I'm always a little surprised. There's a vacuum repair shop in town near me, and I think it's been around since like the early 1900s. It's like fourth generation family or third generation family vacuum store. And I'm kind of surprised that these still exist. They seem to be few and far between, but the ones that are there are not going out of business.
I think it's a bad sign for the vacuum. Like the fact that we still need physical vacuum repair shops. That says something.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. Why can I not send an email to somebody and have my vacuum fixed?
Right.
Or get a, horse-drawn vacuum machine to drive up to the house and take care of it for me.
I feel like Mike is thinking very much in the future, and you're kind of gravitating towards the past a little bit.
1865 in this bitch.
That's right. That seems to be Jesse's motive, is to just pull us backwards in time. I'm not sure why. And you may have noticed, Mike, Jesse also likes all of his technology to be insulting and condescending to him. I think it's like maybe it's like a dominatrix thing. I don't know.
I've noticed that actually. Yes.
Jesse's vacuum is just going to be like, you're terrible at that vacuuming.
Just picturing like, oh, you're so dirty.
Yeah. When the horse-drawn carriage pulls up to his house, he needs the driver of the truck to insult the cleanliness of his home.
Yeah, this is the worst house on the block.
Exactly.
So yes. So did we leave anything off of your list, Jesse, of things that suck?
I think you covered most of them. The only one I'll add is I hate having to empty them.
Yeah.
Whenever I have to empty them, you get just like, it's like a lot of the things you picked up are like airborne again into the room. Yes. That's a problem for like my allergies and stuff.
Right. I'm going to fix that in my invention, by the way, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So with that, let's go to Jesse quickly for innovative news. Jesse's done some research. Again, I assume he has on, I also assumed he was going to be here on time this morning. On innovative news, new vacuums, Kickstarters. Did you find anything out there that was, noteworthy?
Yeah. A few things that, I'm sure most of the listeners, have heard of. if we talk about the Dyson, we've already mentioned it. That technology is still relatively new. And it's kind of a modern invention for the vacuum. They use what's called cyclonic separation, which there's a Wikipedia page for. And it's actually really complicated. I had like a hard time following it. I
think I had that with an ex-girlfriend of mine. Cyclonic separation.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's just like they create these cyclones of air that basically spin the particulates, the dirt, out of the air, and
use like centrifugal force.
Centripetal, and and those particulates hit the side of the chamber and they fall down into some sort of holding device, basically.
Okay,
and that's the gist of cyclonic separation. Another one that everyone's, probably on their mind already, the Roomba.
Yes.
They were kind of the ones that made it popular, the robot vacuum. I think we both have one of these.
Yes. I have like a knockoff version of the Roomba, because the Roomba is like $500.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Do you have a robot vacuum, Mike?
No, my dog will not allow that.
Oh, okay. That's right. He didn't like the regular upright vacuum.
No.
So he'd be very upset with an automated one.
Yes. Assume it would be flipped over immediately.
So I'll just say my piece on the robotic vacuums quickly. I think we're headed in the right direction with those. They kind of don't really vacuum very well in my experience. I think of mine, and I actually do love mine because I have 3 cats and a dog, so I'm dealing with a lot of fur,
right?
And a fiance with a lot of hair. She's not Italian, but
good luck.
But I think of my knockoff vacuum, and I call him Victor. You got to personify.
You have to name it.
I think of him as more of a robotic sweeper because he really can't do carpets. He really doesn't suck anything out of the carpets. But he does a pretty decent job on I have like some laminate flooring, of actually, getting the dog fur, and I'll run him, twice a week, and it limit. I don't really sweep ever because of him. So I'm appreciative of my robot vacuum. I just want to give him a little shout out.
Shout out to Victor.
I thought the whole premise of robotic vacuums was that you run them like all the time when you're not home.
You can program them to run on set schedules. I never really figure mine out, and mine goes out randomly, just kind of on its own will. I don't like.
That's kind of scary.
3:00 in the morning. It's like I feel like vacuuming, and it doesn't always find its way back to its home base. I'll find it under a bed or
because it's watching you.
Right. It's trying to get after me in my sleep.
Harry over here.
Yeah, no, I never quite figured out how to do that, which I feel kind of ashamed because I think I'm pretty technologically savvy, but I couldn't figure out how to schedule a vacuum, so I click a couple buttons and it goes out when I want it to go out.
Yeah, I like mine too for kind of the same reason. Like if I didn't have it, I would be doing way less vacuuming. It kind of does a mediocre job, but at least it's doing something, whereas I probably wouldn't vacuum.
Mine was about $200.
Yeah, that's around the price of mine too. Her name is Ruth.
We should get them together.
Yeah, set them up.
Love connection.
Like, I don't think we want them to breathe.
There's a lot of like sucking jokes that can be made. Yeah. I'm not going to go there.
We'll pass on those.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different features with them. I'm not going to get into all of it, but the newest ones have kind of everything you expect from like a smart vacuum. There's one that's Alexa enabled. This one does clean map reports that it sends to your phone, and it gives you the location of dirt detect events, which I think is strange because like it just would be funny to like get a text message to your phone being like, you spilled a bunch of shit over here on the corner.
This is what I mean, Mike. He wants it to be rude to him.
Well, it's just weird to me. Like, I can't imagine dropping all this stuff and then it finding it and being like, you should stop dropping shit on the floor over here.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in this corner of the room, but there was a lot of dirt.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the Roomba. There's a couple other companies, but they're the big one. Not a whole lot of Kickstarters, honestly. I found one called the JSWS Plus, and honestly, it's basically a Roomba. I think the weird thing about this one is they're selling it as both a home cleaning system and a home protection system.
Okay.
So it protects your home from intruders and dust.
Does it have a weapon?
No, that's the...
How does it do that? Yeah.
I know, like, it'd be kind of cool / terrifying if it had, like, a gun on the top or something.
But especially my vacuum, because it's coming into my bedroom at night.
Right, you don't know when it's gonna leave. It just
misfiring underneath the bed.
It just roams
I
around.
can't wait until these prototypes get out and these people get sued because like 400 dogs get sliced.
Yeah, seriously. If you get an animal that attacks this thing, you're in trouble.
Right.
But honestly, all it has a bunch of cameras, and you can use it as like a home video monitoring system when you're away.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And that was successful. They didn't raise a whole lot of money, but apparently people want a vacuum that will also protect their home.
That's fair. All right. Do you have any others?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Why don't we go to Mike first? Because I'm intrigued about his hitting dust and fur and hair at the source concept. I want to see what you can come up with, Mike. What would your vacuum of the future be capable of?
Okay, so there are 2 different prototypes that I've been considering. Now, I will first and foremost tell you, A, I have no idea if they would work, and B, I have no idea how the technology of them would happen. Now, this is where
I'll just say that has never stopped Jason in the past.
No, that's okay. That's how the show works.
Okay, well, I would the most important thing about that is that we'd have to hire some sort of nerd to get us past the finish line.
Sure.
That being said, so I actually got a little bit of an idea yesterday while thinking about the podcast while going through a car wash. Now, after you go through an automated car wash, okay?
Yep.
You drive through this area slowly that has these very powerful blower devices that dry your car, right?
Yep.
Yes.
What if at the threshold of entry to your home or apartment you had a similar device?
Oh, God.
However, it wouldn't blow air, it would just suck really hard. That way, for instance, my dog coming in from a walk, any extraneous hairs that are about to hit the floor would be pulled into the wall preemptively.
All right. Well, let's talk about the origin of what we're vacuuming is what? It's fur, it's dirt, it's skin cells,
Yeah, it
et
does.
cetera. Does this eliminate all of that?
Maybe not
Well,
all, but
If it's powerful enough, it would be painful, but yes, it would eliminate it.
no skin, no skin cells. That's what I always say.
That's what I always say. He wants pain. Yes, he wants pain.
Yes. He wants physical pain
Right,
and emotional
pain and
pain.
abuse.
I'll just chime in on that for a second because I was discussing my idea and trying to come up with something with my fiance, and she actually suggested something kind of similar in nature, in that we were talking about, the premise of a vacuum is one area with a lower pressure than another area. So she started to talk about, having like a continual suction in every room of the house. Basically your HVAC system just constantly running to pull all those particles into some sort of filter contraption as they're falling. But my only issue was, isn't it going to be kind of drafty all the time?
And loud.
Yeah, so I felt like it was just a little impractical, but I like where her head is at.
Yeah.
And I like how you kind of implemented that idea right at the front door.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want people with a bunch of loose skin coming into my house.
I want that all sucked right off.
What's your slogan? Like, step into a cleaner home, or
I think it would be something. You know what? Give me a minute
we
on
suck
the
you off
slogan.
at the front door?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, not in my house. I guess would be a good slogan.
It's come in my front door and get sucked off.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're getting there.
Yeah.
I feel like, Jesse, with that slogan, you just sold 1 million units.
Yeah,
To somebody. I don't know if it's the right
I can
demographic.
imagine
audience.
the 911 call. It's like, 911, what's your emergency? Yeah, you know those home threshold sucking vacuum? It's in there. It's in there.
Yeah, it's in there. I got the ladder out of the garage, and yeah. I'll just run down my idea really quick. And I'm surprised you didn't stumble upon this in your research, Jesse. But I found there's this engineer in England. His name is Ben. I don't remember his last name. I apologize. Actually, let me see if I can pull up really quick because I want to give him the credit that he's due.
You gave more credit to Victor.
His name is Ben Edginton. He's got a website.
That's a fake name.
The website is g0cwt.co.uk. I don't know that. It looks like it's something out of the 90s, really. But he invented a vacuum cleaner that works on an entirely different premise than modern vacuum cleaners. And here's the interesting thing. His premise was actually tested by the Market Transformation Program Research and Testing Center. They kind of test products to certify that they're
Decent.
their quality.
Okay.
And they actually found that his vacuum was more effective at vacuuming than traditional vacuums.
Really?
And here's the thing. I mentioned it before. It actually works on the premise of blowing air, not sucking it.
See, I don't get that.
It uses steam in some function, along with blowing and creating a vacuum because the air blows and is forced up a airtight chamber, which in essence creates suction.
Okay.
Because it's creating a change in pressure.
Yep.
But it's not at the point of contact with the carpet. It's blowing.
So it actually probably frees up a lot of the particles that are in the carpet.
Yes. And here's where I want to give him a lot of credit. And it's called the air recycling, or air pressure cleaning I don't know what it's called. Recycling vacuum.
Okay.
And it's called air recycling because your traditional vacuum sucks up air, pushes it through a filter, right? It gets all the crap out, then the air runs through a filter,
yep.
And then it comes out of an exhaust back into your environment.
Right.
That is, Ben here saw that as a waste of energy.
Okay.
Because that air that's being expelled it can be used as energy. So he created this vacuum where instead of leaving the vacuum, it recirculates back to the blower.
Oh.
And what that does is it enables this vacuum to operate at the low power of 250 watts, which is something like a quarter of the power of your typical vacuum.
Wow.
And on top of that, it's more efficient, uses 10% of the power, not a quarter. It's healthier because no air is returned to the room to blow allergens around. It improves upon the HEPA filter vacuums. It's lighter in weight because it has a smaller motor. Smaller motor also makes it quieter. And, he also notes that his website, he's basically begging somebody to fund this and manufacture it. He notes that it should be cheap to manufacture because it fits in the same form factor as your traditional vacuum. So, now that I gave him a little bit of credit, and I did reach out to him to try to get an interview, he probably listened to the podcast. I was like, fuck that. I'm not going on that show.
Don't want to sully the name.
But, yeah, right. But, you know what? Screw you, Ben. I want to implement that technology into my idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, are we done here then? Because that sounded pretty good.
Yeah, because that kind of fixed a lot of issues I have with the vacuum. I want to just put it into my idea, and I'm going to try to do this quick because I realize I'm using up a lot of our time. Put that into my vacuum. It has the same form factor as a modern upright model vacuum, except it's robotic. Because I thought about my Roomba. The problem is it doesn't suck as well as my regular vacuum.
Right.
Why isn't my regular vacuum just the Roomba?
Yep.
Okay, so we're doing that. It has room scanning technology that prevents overlap to be more efficient on a battery cycle. Retractable hose cleaner to get hard to reach places under dressers, tables. It can detect carpet versus laminate flooring, and it can Swiffer in the same motion when desired.
For like tile floors or something like that?
Yeah, laminate flooring, tile floors, kitchen, your bathroom. It can Swiffer them. It can also dust.
Oh, jeez.
With retractable arms. Cleanings are scheduled to your desire. Of course, it syncs, it's got its Wi-Fi enabled, Bluetooth enabled, syncs to your smartphone.
Heads-up display.
No heads-up display on this one. You can indicate specific rooms that you want it to clean, and the vacuum will only clean those rooms. It knows your house. which is really bad if it wants to kill you. But and it's funny you mentioned this. It has cameras so that you can see around your home while you're
So home
at work.
protection too.
Oh, I actually thought of that as a little bit of a surveillance system.
All right.
And here's the thing. This is less of a vacuum. It's more of a robotic maid.
I was going to say, I think you designed a robot again.
And I added one thing. I mentioned I have 3 cats. It can also do things like feed your cats.
Oh, I like that.
So it's a robot.
So it's kind of like a robot whose primary function is cleaning.
Okay.
So that is my idea. And speaking of cats, mine just pulled my headphones out of.
I was just gonna say, you said feed your cat, and Nala was like, "Not today, Dad."
But Jesse, what's your idea?
So I kind of started also with the idea of the Roomba because that's sort of my current favorite vacuum. Okay, so it's going to do the vacuuming on its own. But the difference being mine, I'll give you the name first. The Helavac.
Nice.
Okay.
I like it.
And it's a Roomba, but on the top of it, it has like the quadcopter rotors. Okay. So this is both like land and air. Maybe sea too. Why not? Make our nation proud, right? And so it works just like a regular Roomba. It will drive around your apartment. But the beautiful thing is my Roomba gets stuck always on like pretty much everything. So this, if it feels like it's going to get stuck or it needs to go somewhere it can't get just on wheels, it's going to turn on the rotors and it's going to get there in the air. So it's going to go upstairs. It's going to go in your basement. And because it can also lift off the ground, it's not just cleaning your floor. It's going to dust any of your surfaces, like your countertops, your dresser, everything like that. And then I think one of my biggest complaints was having to empty it. So with my Roomba, I still have to empty it. I have the same issue. I get dust everywhere.
They also clog very easily.
They do. And I did not solve that. But this docks in the bottom of a trash can that comes with the unit. Okay, so the actual dock is also a trash can, and it empties itself when it docks into a trash bag. And so, oh, did I steal an idea, Mike?
No, that was fuck yeah.
You got it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I love that. I don't know how it's gonna work, but to not have to empty it myself, it's just taking out the trash. Maybe I'll get a robot to take out the trash.
Sure, yeah.
I love that idea. I added a few other things. It also memorizes your floor plan, so it's very smart about moving around the house. But yeah, that's my idea.
It's basically a Roomba/drone combo with some smart functions.
Yes. And the trash can.
All right. I'll just add this. That wouldn't work with cats or dogs.
I don't have either, so that's fair.
That would severely injure my cats, I'm afraid.
Well, that would solve the problem, wouldn't it?
I have to say I'm kind of surprised none of our ideas were really like one another in any form factor, and that's never happened before.
Yeah.
So
I think that the obvious solution then would be some sort of a combination between all of us, where when you get through your threshold of your door, you get sucked real hard. Then you're greeted by Jason's robot maid.
She also sucks you hard.
She's wearing a maid outfit, so it's fitting.
Of course, and I think her and Victor have a little thing, but that's beside the point.
Right.
And then afterwards, you'll have to duck as to not be decapitated by Jesse's Helavac.
Right. I mean, I wear a helmet most of the time anyway.
I just want to give my idea the most credit for being the least dangerous sounding.
That's surprising, actually.
Yeah, that is surprising. That's the first time that's happened as well.
Have you ever seen the movie I, Robot? Okay.
I actually haven't.
Good point.
That's probably why I came up with that idea. We did try to crowdsource this idea. Again, I posted, of course, there's a subreddit, for vacuum cleaners, and it's vacuum cleaner enthusiasts. And I wasn't really surprised that that's a thing.
I was going to say, to which now Mike subscribes.
But there are...
I'm actually the president.
There are 2,000 subscribers to vacuum cleaner enthusiasts out there, and they talk about vacuums. I thought that was interesting. And I got a lot of really, really dorky feedback there. Most people complained about wanting it to be portable, more powerful, and more quiet. They didn't really get the idea, but I don't know what I expected from vacuum cleaner enthusiasts. So I decided to post on Ask Reddit. And I said, if there were no limit to the technology you could implement in a futuristic vacuum cleaner, what would it be capable of? The top answer, blowjobs. So,
we did it. We did it.
So I didn't really get the answers that I was looking for, in crowdsourcing. So with that, let's move into the games. And I want to introduce a little new game that I came up with.
Okay.
Before we get to, has somebody died using it?
Really quick. I just had a quick thought, and I think it bears mentioning.
Okay.
Based on your Reddit experience, what are the chances that vacuum cleaning the entire subreddit is just a subreddit of 2,000 people who like to use their vacuum for sexual pleasure?
Honestly, that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, if you give the entire internet and you say 2,000 people, that could very well be a strange fetish group.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Maybe you picked the wrong group to ask. I'm going to start my own subreddit of vacuum cleaning enthusiasts that actually use it for cleaning.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Maybe a no pun intended clean version of that subreddit.
All right. This game, I didn't really give it a name. We're just going to call it Name the Everyday Item.
Okay.
By sound.
Pancake.
Okay. No, see, here's how it works. I have 3 clips of the same item. I'm going to play them in sequence, and they're going to go in order of difficulty from most difficult to least difficult. You're going to have opportunities to guess. With each clip, you're going to get 1 guess, and the first clip, if you get it on the first clip, it's worth 3 points.
Okay.
2 points for the second clip, 1 point for the third clip. If nobody gets it, I don't know what's going to happen. There's no prizes, so don't.
Am I playing against Jesse?
Yes.
Done.
So you're going to play against Jesse, and let's get into it. I'm going to play this clip. Mike, let me know if you can hear this okay. Here is the first clip.
Whoa.
Let me ask you a question. If I start guessing, do I only get one guess?
Just one guess?
You only get one final answer per clip. So, what do you guys think? Do you recognize the sound at this point?
Garbage disposal.
Is that your final answer?
With a fork stuck inside, yes.
I was like, I'm worried that that's just how our audio sounds to Mike right now. It's like, the whole time I was thinking garbage disposal.
That's actually one of our iTunes reviews.
Just garbage disposal. It sounded kind of like a gun to me.
Do you want to hear it again?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like you're loading like a revolver or something.
I said everyday item. I don't own a gun.
Oh,
that might be a lawnmower.
Okay.
A stapler.
All right, I'll tell you this. It's not a stapler, and it's not a garbage disposal with a fork in it, or a lawnmower.
All right. All right.
Clip number 2, and they're getting easier, but I'll admit this one is not easy. And you might need to listen. It's not as loud. And that's the clip.
That sounded like some sort of like alien contact situation. I feel like we should tell the government.
Washing machine.
I'll play it again. That's a good guess. Are you getting assistance?
Dryer.
Are you getting assistance from your wife there, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
It's still not a stapler then. It hasn't become a stapler all of a sudden.
No.
Now that you mention it, that's exactly the sound my stapler makes.
Yeah. How about a printer?
All right, not a printer, not a washer or a dryer. So we're moving on for the final point. Here is the final clip, and it's the shortest of the 3 clips, so pay attention. It is the easiest, however.
Keurig!
That is the Keurig machine.
Wow.
Wham!
Damn. That was impressive.
It's hard to miss that sound, isn't it? Yeah, and
Love me some Keurig.
here's the full sequence.
Sounds kind of gross.
So there you go. It kind of makes me want a cup of coffee. So congratulations, Mike. You won nothing at all, but the honor of winning the first round of this game.
Is your Keurig from like 1940? Mine's a lot quieter than that.
Well, have you ever mic'd yours up?
Good point.
I'm assuming that was the Keurig was in the garbage disposal during that whole process.
Yes. Sorry. Mike's the winner of that game. Let's move on to has somebody died using it? Mike, you're going to be on my team here because it's my turn again to try to even the score. What is the score? I think it's 1-1.
I think so.
Jesse has done some research into the instances of has somebody perhaps died while using a vacuum cleaner. Again, it couldn't have been a murder. Right. I wonder if somebody's killed somebody with a vacuum cleaner.
They have. I assure you they have.
And it needs to have been the vacuum cleaner that caused the death. Lightning can't strike a vacuum cleaner,
okay,
et cetera. So, with that, Mike, it's up to us to hypothesize, how it might have happened and whether or not it happened. I'm going to say, first and foremost, I think the vacuum cleaner has definitely killed somebody.
I would also say yes, it has.
Do you want to take a guess as to how it may have happened?
Yeah, I think because I remember specifically when I was younger, vacuum cleaners used to be made of metal. I would say some sort of electrocution.
Electrocutions, and they plug into the wall. I'd be willing to guess that has happened as well. I also I considered like if somebody is maybe a kid was like playing around and had a really powerful model and like put his mouth on the tube and then like suffocated.
I just don't think that's a thing. That's so, oh God.
Here's where I'm going to go. I'm actually thinking explosion. Because I think you're dealing with pressure systems, you're dealing with high pressure.
That would be a very powerful vacuum.
You're dealing with electricity and a motor. I think you could be talking about fire too. I think you could be talking about vacuum igniting. So
I feel like since we've started this podcast, we're like afraid of all of our everyday objects.
Oh yeah, no, I think twice before I use, my Keurig, for example.
I just threw my Keurig out the window.
After those alien noises, yeah.
Electrocution. Maybe somebody tried to like suck up some water with the traditional vacuum, and it hit some electrical components. You want to go with that?
I'm going with electrocution, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna side with Mike and say electrocution. Number one answer. Lock it in.
All right, I'll start out by saying you get the initial half point for
someone's died.
For someone has died.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna slowly get to this. I do want to bring up one case that I feel like we could debate, and it's become quite relevant in our discussion. I found this in the American Journal of Forensic Medicine and Pathology. It details the case of a 57-year-old man who died after of a fatal cardiac episode. I know we have issues with counting heart attacks, but this is from the unusual autoerotic practice involving the use of a vacuum cleaner. So he was using a vacuum cleaner for what we discussed earlier, and he had a heart attack.
He put it in there?
He put it in there.
Okay.
He's probably part of that subreddit.
Yeah. The moderator of the subreddit actually died. And that was in 1988. But
he died. He died?
Yes, but of a heart attack. So I don't know if we can count. He might have had a heart attack had he received a regular blowjob.
Can you imagine being found by paramedics in that state?
I'll tell you that the journal had a rather vivid description, and I'm not going to share it on the podcast.
No, please.
No, please do.
Please don't.
The listeners, if you'd like, you can go and look it up yourselves.
Yeah, we'll tweet it out.
Yeah, give me that link.
Yeah, we'll tweet it out and then quickly be removed from Twitter. That'll be good.
Right. Tweet it at Tyler Womack.
Yeah.
His great grandson will be like, "That was my granddad."
Yeah, right. All right, and I'm happy for you. I'll say you got the other half point as well.
I think that's the first full point.
Yeah, that's impressive. But again, recently, 2015, a New Zealand man was electrocuted by a vacuum and died of the electrocution.
Wow. How did it happen?
It was, I believe, the cord, a frayed cord. And as we discussed earlier, you gotta pick up the cord and move it around, and it's, and so I think he just sort of ended up touching a frayed spot on the cord. Again, a very sad story, actually. He had a pregnant wife.
This is so
exciting.
Every time we find these stories, it's like, it's never like lonely guy in basement dies.
No, it's always like, father of 6 on vacation to Disneyland.
This is a horrible segment. It's just bad.
Yeah, it's never really been a positive segment.
No, yeah, it's not. This is not an uplifting part of the podcast. We like to end on a low note.
Right. It makes the start of next episode seem really light and airy.
Exactly. Okay.
Our sync sound is a guy getting a blowjob from a vacuum.
Next time on That Just Might Work.
Are you volunteering?
No, thanks.
I just want to say this. I'll take the point, but I kind of have issue with the fact that he touched the cord and was electrocuted. I don't feel like the vacuum killed him.
I know. I was a little disappointed by that as well. Again,
I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, but did you find any instance of somebody getting beaten to death with a vacuum?
Yes, definitely. But because of how often we find that happens with every object, we've ruled out like murder by object.
We haven't found an object yet that somebody hasn't used.
That actually could be a new game show
to smash someone's face.
Like, could you not find an instance of someone being bludgeoned with this object?
Yeah,
right. You just give us 3 objects, and we pick the one that nobody's been bludgeoned with yet.
Yeah. I like it. Maybe next episode.
All right.
We can work that out. So that's somebody died using it. The score, 2-1. Jason.
Nice.
To Jesse. With that's going to wrap up today's episode of That Just Might Work on the vacuum cleaner. Again, we do encourage and we appreciate your feedback, whether on Facebook, Twitter, it's at TJMW Podcast. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/That Just Might Work. We're also on Instagram with the same handle. You can shoot us an email to feedback@thatjustmightworkpodcast.com. There's also a form on the website itself. We make it really easy for you to reach out to us, is what I'm trying to say. And we're in desperate need of feedback.
Right.
So please do that. Follow us on our social media. Keep an eye out for the stickers. Jesse did bring some along to me, but we'll send you, or maybe I'll have Jesse hand deliver one because he lives actually
coming to a urinal near you.
Yeah, keep your eyes out.
Keep an eye out the next time you're taking a leak. You might just see a familiar logo. And we want to thank Mike McKay for joining us on episode 5 of That Just Might Work. Mike, what do you want to plug? When's Live with Mike coming back to Facebook screens?
Working title, but season 2. We did season 1 last winter. Season 2 starts the week after the Super Bowl, 6 to 8 p.m. Sundays, and we'll be coming at you live from a loft hotel in the Inner Harbor area of Syracuse. We have a great list of, I think it's 12 weeks of guests, from people who are recent contestants on The Voice to people from all over the country when they're happy to be passing through town. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, tune in and see us. And maybe one of these weeks I can convince Jason to come play some guitar.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
At some point, I think I'll have to do that. And,
come out of retirement.
Yeah, I might have to come out of retirement. Where can we catch the show?
Yeah, it's all live on Facebook. But another thing we do is really cool. Every Sunday when you watch, you have the ability to win awesome prizes. In season 1, we gave out 2 iPods. We gave out a Keurig. We gave out gift cards to all sorts of cool places, a Fitbit, and the prizes are just going to get bigger and bigger. We have really great sponsors that provide us with things that we can give away, and all you have to do to win is tune in and watch every Sunday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
All right, Mike, thank you again for joining us on this episode.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys, for having me.
And catch us next week.
You have a sucky day.
Yeah, we should have signed off with that. Catch us next week on That Just Might Work. You never know. We might be talking about your favorite everyday object.
Thanks for listening.